And we're live. Good evening, everyone. March 18th, 9 p.m. as usual. Start by looking at the quote. This quote is half of a sutta. It's the second half. So it starts actually with 5 asamaya padanaya. 5 non-times for striving. So you've got the asamaya and you've got the samaya. There are times for striving and there are times where you should not strive. And I'm looking at the commentaries, trying to get some clarification here, because I think you have to qualify this to some extent. But there's a valuable lesson to be learned here. I suppose the first lesson to consider is other ways of deciding what's the right time to meditate, to strive, are often misguided. Right? So we often think, well, I'd like to meditate, but I just can't find the time. Just can't find the right time to do it. Either don't have enough time or it's just not the time. In Buddhist countries, they often say things like, well, when I get old, I'll meditate. No. When I'm young, I've got work to do. But when I get old, I'll take the time to meditate. And so we put it aside. I think to some extent, this sutta, as I said, has to be qualified because the Buddha also said that mindfulness is always useful. And that's, I think, important, that striving is not the only way of meditating, not the only way of progressing, of practicing. Anyway, well, let's go through these. Because it's important, because there is a certain amount of striving that you shouldn't do at certain times. So let's start with the asamaya. Katame pancha. What 5? Ida bhikkhave bhikkhu jinno hoti. Here, a monk, a meditator, is old. Jaraya bibhuto, has become very elderly. Ayang bhikkhave patamo asamayo padanaya. So how do you interpret this? Is he saying that old people shouldn't meditate, shouldn't practice, shouldn't strive spiritually? No, in fact, I think what is being said here is this is a bad time. It's harder. It's a harder time. And the important lesson there is don't wait till you're old, because old people will tell you there's difficulties. I mean, interestingly enough, as I said, it's when people, mostly there's an excuse, I'm too young, I'll do it when I'm older. So interestingly enough, a lot of old people do take up meditation and get good results, but you accumulate so much baggage that there's a lot more work to be done. And you have the Buddha's words here and in other places that this is not the right way to look at things. Because if we skip down to the first one on the positive side, Ida bhikkhave bhikkhu daharo hoti. One is a child, a youth. Yuva, young. Susu, I don't know what susu means. Young. I was saying young. Kalakeso with black hair, because everyone in India had black hair until it turned gray. Bhadrena. Don't know. No. Bhadrena Yovanena. Yovanena, youth. In the height of their youth, or something like that. Samanagato is possessed of the height of youth, the best part of youth, the strength of youth, the greatness of youth. Pattamena Vayasa, in the first vaya, the first part of life, first age of life. Ayang bhikkhave pattamo samayo padhanaya. This is the first occasion, or right time for striving. Do it while you're young. Because every moment that we're unmindful is accumulating karma, is accumulating habits. And so you can say that old people can benefit from meditation, absolutely. But they also have a lot of habits built up. And so as far as how far they can get, it depends on the person, of course, but young people have greater potential, they've got greater strength. If you've seen some of these young monks meditating day and night, able to walk very well, able to sit very still, their minds are sharp. I mean, it goes both ways, because old people have a lot of the wisdom that's required to understand why we're meditating. Young people meditate for a little while and then get bored and give it up. Nonetheless, it's something that you should start young. Get a head start. Any old meditator will tell you, don't wait until you're old. It's that much harder. Number 2, when you're sick. When you're sick, don't put out effort. This is interesting, because you should meditate. You should be very mindful. As I said, the Buddha in other places has said that sickness is a great catalyst for insight. But you shouldn't work hard, because you can aggravate the sickness and prolong the sickness. You should take care of your body. Rest a lot, lie down. Don't do lots of walking, and don't push yourself. Don't push your body anyway. On the opposite, when you're healthy, that's when you should meditate, because when you're sick, it gets harder. It may be a great time to be mindful, but it's much harder to be mindful. And of course, you can't do all the exercises. So the point is, when you're healthy, take that time to meditate. Don't be negligent. There's a lot of talk about the negligence of health. Oh, I'm healthy now. I don't need to worry about suffering, right? I don't need to worry about my defilements. I'm healthy, I can get what I want, I can do what I want. If I have problems, I just chase them away, or I run away from them. And then when we're sick, we don't know what to do. We're unprepared. So it's a good lesson, rather than thinking, oh, I'm happy, so why should I worry? Why should I work? Why should I train myself? We should think that when you're happy, when you're well, you should prepare yourself for being unwell. Or you should prepare yourself. It's a good time to train yourself and to make yourself stronger, because making yourself stronger once you're already unwell is much more difficult. If a person's never practiced meditation and never practiced mindfulness, and then they get sick, it's very hard to teach them meditation at that point, because they won't hear it. Their mind is too reactionary. Better to start with when it's easy, right? If you start when it's hard, it's much harder to start. It doesn't mean you shouldn't be mindful, and you shouldn't try your best to be mindful when you're sick. When you're sick, it's a great time. to learn and to understand, to learn to let go, because you have suffering, and suffering is something that we react to very strongly. Number 3, dubikang hoti. When at a time when there is not much food. Dusasang. Dusasang is sisasa. Crops, right? When there are poor crops. Dulaba pindang, when it's hard to get alms. Nasukarang unchena. It's not easy to gather, to something ask. All right, begging, yapeti. I don't know. Why does it say that yapeti means? Anyway, not easy to keep one's life going on sustenance or something like that. When it's hard to get food, when food is scarce. So this is an issue for monks more than lay people, I suppose, but it can happen when you're poor, that food is scarce. Well, don't push your body at that point. Remember, we had one person who came to meditate and wanted to do a fast, so they were just going to have fruit for like 3 weeks. And so after 2 weeks, he came to my hut and said he had like pulled a ligament in his leg. Because it's hard, this isn't like some yoga retreat where you just lie on your mat and stretch do simple stretches. You're actually doing hours and hours of walking, and it's insight. So you're dealing with ordinary states. You're not entering into very high and special states. You're dealing with a lot of difficulties because you're trying to learn and understand how your mind works. You're digging right in there with the problems. It's very strenuous. No, it's very taxing on your system. So you have to nourish your body. When you're not able to find nourishment, that's the time you have to be careful. And then bayang hoti attavisangkopo. When there is danger, jakka samarulha janapada pariyayanti. I think I have to look up a translation. I'm not familiar with any of this. There is peril, turbulence in the wilderness, and the people of the countryside, mounted on their vehicles, flee on all sides. Thank you, Bhikkhu Bodhi. Yeah, there's danger. When there's danger, you should be careful. You shouldn't go out and do walking. If there's a war in your area, you have to take care of your body. It's not a good time for striving because you'll be worried about dangers and you might even be attacked and harmed. And so, part of the lesson here is that when you don't have danger, when life is good, this is when take advantage of the moment, take advantage of the opportunity. Gano ma upachaga, don't let the moment pass you by. So when there's harmony in society, manusa samagga samodamana avivadamana, when people are dwelling in harmony, when they are not fighting, kiro dakibota, having become like milk and water, mixing like milk and water without any turbulence. When people can mix, and when people look at each other fondly, piya chakkuhi sampasanta viharanti. They dwell in harmony, eyeing each other favorably, kindly, dearly. And number 5 is when your community, when the Sangha is dwelling, well, when the Sangha is split up, when your meditation community, when your family, that's a time where it's difficult to strive. So when your family is in harmony, you should take that opportunity to strive. And so I don't think this really means that you shouldn't try and be mindful. You should just give up and throw in the towel when things are difficult. It's more of a lesson of how difficult it is with those things, and so to take advantage of the time. But it's also a warning that you shouldn't push too hard when there are things that will be affected by striving. So when your body might be injured because you're striving, because you're not getting enough nourishment, or when you might be killed because there's war going on, or that kind of thing, or you might be subject to all sorts of problems because people are fighting and your family or your community is fighting. You should resolve some of these problems. Anyway, interesting sutta, and giving the 5 good times to strive and the 5 times when striving becomes difficult. So, next up, I'm going to post the Hangout link on meditation.sirimangalo.org. If you want to join the Hangout, you're welcome to come and ask questions. This is where I take live questions for anyone brave enough to join me with a video webcam and a microphone. Give it a couple of minutes. If nobody shows up, then we say good night. Tomorrow I'm giving a talk in Second Life, as far as I know. That's at 12 p.m., 12 noon, Second Life time in the Buddha Center. So if you know what that means, come on out. If you don't know what that means, don't worry about it. Oh, and it looks like I'm going to New York City. If you're in the New York City area, looks like I might be there from the 16th of April to the 23rd of April. Looks sometime around that time. It's not confirmed yet, but it's decided upon, agreed upon. So it looks like I'll be doing some meditation teachings in New York City. Some special memories of New York City. I was flying to Thailand as a monk, and I brought along a novice, a Cambodian novice, and we'd agreed. This was, of course, back when I was with monks who were all using money, but I decided, this was the first time I decided that I was going to stop using money. And so I said, we're not bringing any money on this trip. And we got to New York City, and I had left my passport on the plane in the seat in front of me, and it went back to Toronto. And we missed our plane from New York City to Korea. Can't remember, Korea or Taiwan. Probably Taiwan. And so we spent 2 nights, I think, just maybe 1 night. We spent about almost 24 hours over 24 hours in New York City. And we wouldn't have survived if the novice hadn't secretly. He pulled. I said, I don't know what we're gonna do. And so he pulls out like $100. He had snuck some money. So we had money to get a taxi and then to get a train back to the airport. So we got a taxi to the Cambodian monastery, and then we slept some time in the JFK airport. But I was there a couple of years ago as well. Just passed through. Ended up staying a couple of nights in Long Island. Maybe I'll go to Long Island again this time, to the Sri Lankan meditation center there. It's a really nice, a good friend of mine, Nanda. Oh, who do we have? Hello, Stephen. Or Stefan. Hello. Your mic is live, I can hear you. I can hear you, but I don't know what you're saying. You have a question? Hello. I don't know. Interesting. All right, I'm assuming no questions. So where will I be teaching in New York City? I don't know yet. Nothing's confirmed. It's all very prelim. I'll let you know. Have a good night, everyone. See some of you in Second Life tomorrow.